Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 89 of the Moto2 podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We didn't actually record an intro, which is why I'm talking now. We have Max Toth and Sean Dylan Kelly on the podcast. It was my first solo podcast without the help of Cameron or Lauren, and it was interesting. It was a good podcast, I thought, anyway. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and yeah, let us know on your opinions, I guess. I'm just waffling now, but yeah, enjoy. So yeah, just it's more of a chat of like obviously what you've been up to recently. Obviously last year as well for you, Sean, because obviously you had quite a big year moving to Moto2, and then Max, obviously you did like fucking everything last year, tied in the championship, and then obviously being crowned like a dual championship winner. Obviously doing the Chev at Valencia in the last round of the season as well, and then obviously like you've been training with Fabio Quartararo recently, all that kind of malarkey, and just just talk about just racing and shit more than anything. That sounds good to you.
Easy.
Lovely talk. I'll let the
I was gonna say I'll let the big dog go first.
The big,
You have the,
I was gonna say I'll let
you
the
have the better
puppy
stories than me.
I'll let the puppy talk.
the little pupper. All right.
You go first with the better stories.
Fine. Well, I mean, we can just, like you said, it's just a little chat. We'll just go like half.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of cut it up between each other.
Yeah, just talk.
But
Just talk to each other.
it's been good. I mean, it feels good. It feels good to be back in Spain now. I was back home for the last couple months in Miami, just spending time with the family. Obviously, last year was first year in Moto2, but also first time being away from the family that long. So definitely a lot of new experiences. So it felt good to be back home the last couple months and just be with them and spend some quality time. And of course, preseason, I mean, the riding's much different over there than it is here, but it was still really, really positive. So I feel good. It was a really good off season. I'm feeling strong. I mean, still working my ass off right now, but it was a good time, and we'll see. I mean, I'll talk about the season, but we'll kind of go half.
Yeah, go half and half. Why not? Why not? Yeah, what was it like for obviously both of you? Because obviously you've been doing a lot of trading. I've seen obviously all your shit on Instagram with Fabio Quartararo and all that, and John Hopkins, and obviously a new teammate Rory Skinner as well. Absolutely just going ham on the little Husqvarnas I've seen. What was that like? Especially training with Fabio Quartararo and Arbolino as well. Like, what was that like? Were you able to pick some stuff up from him as well, or is it just a case of just a load of lads just riding bikes around for a bit? You know.
All right. Well, the service isn't great, but yeah, the service was that cut off a lot. But I kind of picked up what we got to talk about. So in general, I mean, it was cool because we ended up going to California for a couple weeks. I mean, I was there for 2 weeks. Max was there.
I came down a little bit after you guys because you and Rory got there a few days earlier.
Yeah, Max was. Were you there for like a week and a half, maybe? Week and a half. Rory stayed for a little bit more because he didn't want to go back to Scotland, so that was cool. But it was a good setup. I mean, it was, as a team set it up to be. It was a winter training camp, and they got Family Power Sports. It's a dealership out in Texas to sponsor us a bunch of bikes. And so, yeah, we had brand new Husqvarnas, brand new Cowie 250s for dirt. I mean, obviously we had Ovales to train with on the mini bikes. We had some flat trackers that we got from here and there. And in general, it was a really, really good time. Like we had an Airbnb that we all stayed at, and it was just
fun.
Yeah, that was a good time and some quality time. We had a nice U-Haul van, and we were just up and down every single day. So it was a good time. Definitely got a lot of riding. Like I was there, like I said, for exactly 16 days, and I think I trained for 15. So
we had like 2 rest days.
Yeah,
we had like 2 rest.
Yeah,
it was
so
super uninterrupted.
It was pretty tiring, but it was good. Fabio and Tony were there. It was honestly, it was just coincidence that they were there like pretty much at the same time as us. So we didn't really see them much. Like they kind of had their own thing going on, and we had our own thing going on. So we did see them once, twice, maybe, but that was really it. So it was still cool though. I mean, we were out on track with them on mini bikes and chatted up, more than you can really at a GP weekend, because once you're working, you're working. So that was a good time. And what else? What else would you add to that?
I mean, I think it was super fun. I think that was my first time that I had like a week and a half of 2 weeks straight of just uninterrupted training with some really fast people. I think we got a lot of work done in the sense of I felt like I really improved from the beginning to the end of it just because of how much we were training and because of who I was training with for that time. So that was super, super fun. And that was a cool aspect of it. The Airbnb was super fun. The Airbnb was honestly one of the best moments of
You
it.
keep mentioning this
Just all
Airbnb.
being-
Was there any stories you could tell, or is it all just like not safe for work?
Honestly, it was just kind of, the three of us just bullshitting the whole time. But what was good about it is that it gave us, like, that was the first time that I met Rory. And so it was a cool setting because me and Rory got super close in that time frame because we were spending so much time together. And every time that we were done with training and done with whatever we were doing, we were going back all together to the Airbnb. But it just kind of got us all a little bit closer. I think a lot more relaxed. I think it took the edge off of meeting like the new teammates or whatever. So no, it was a good time. Just a good time.
Yeah, because it's a lot.
Yeah, we
Okay. Carry on. Still good.
we almost totaled a rental van, but
How? What the hell? How?
honestly, I was not driving it.
Okay, that's
So
good.
it was all Rory's fault.
Okay.
It was probably the closest I've ever been to being in a proper car crash.
Oh.
So yeah, I puckered up pretty bad, and but it'll stick as a good story. I mean, Rory is kind of a maniac behind the wheel, so I don't know if he's even going to remember that story, but I'm going to remember it because I was in the passenger seat. That's all.
I'm intrigued. What happened? You can't say.
What do you mean? What happened? We just. How do you drive rental cars?
Just send it.
There's only one way to drive a rental car.
Send it.
It's just it's on the limit.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, and keep in mind, so I wasn't in the van when they did this. Yeah. The only part of the experience that I got was them driving up the driveway because the Airbnb had a long driveway up to the house. So I heard their car coming, slam, going up the driveway, running up the hill. And the next thing I know, the door kicks open and they are just dying. I mean, I've never seen people laugh harder. They were dying.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was some hard adrenaline of almost going into a few streets.
Like, what you guys do? We almost totaled the car.
It was pretty bad. Like, we just, let's just say I'm saying we because I was in the passenger seat, but I had no control of the van. But we just maybe underestimated our speed into a corner and just pretty much almost ended up in trees. So that was really it. I mean, there's more stories, but I don't know if it's the right thing to talk.
Yeah, understandable. Boys will be boys and all that, you know.
That was a good time.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, like, do you think it's like prepared you a little bit for the season now? Do you feel like you're ready to go and absolutely smash it? Because obviously it's like, what, for you, Sean, it's like 20 days away now. It's really close now, 3 weeks away, really, from the test. Do you feel ready for it, or is it like, yeah? How are your thoughts?
No, I feel really ready. Like I'm really happy with the off season just because it's been a good combination of I know I needed the time back at home at the end of last year. I got the time that I needed with the family, but also my training that I was doing back at home was the best it's ever been because yes, it's kind of hard to have as much access to tracks in South Florida where I live, but I had everything I needed. I was training on big bikes, which I hadn't really done last off season. And then we had those 2 weeks that were full gas in California. That was really good in terms of just getting the level to a pretty good spot in a bunch of different disciplines. And then also now, like, it's already been a week and a half that I've been here in Spain, and I've been going also like the same way, just every single day. I mean, I had rest day on Sunday, but it's been pretty full gas, and it's felt good to also come here. And like I work with somebody that works with a bunch of riders like Vinales and Augusto and a bunch of legit guys, right? So it's felt good to get back here and then just get in the groove with them as well. So no, I feel good. I feel strong, and just looking forward to getting back on it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season because obviously you had your rookie season last year, Moto2. What are your thoughts on that? Did it go as well as you think it did, or was there places you could improve? Was there, what were your expectations, and where do you think you lie within those expectations?
No, definitely my expectations were better than what I did. At the end of the day, I need to, I do need to be, proud of getting through the season. And, it was a dream come true for me to get, do what I did. And there was definitely good moments, but to be honest, there was more challenging times than there were good times, let's say. Even though, again, I don't want to, it's not looking at it in a negative way, but I think just being real with it, I definitely wanted to achieve a little bit more results than what I did. But again, it's super easy to just be negative about it. I think there's so much good to take from it. I learned so much during the year. I feel like I had a lot of obstacles definitely thrown at me during the year. I had an injury, halfway through the season. That was my first time ever having to ride, 10 days after having a little fracture. So that was also interesting. But like I said, I feel there's so much that I learned from it, and there's some changes also within the team that I feel like is going to be a benefit to me, and just in terms of how we work within the team and my crew. And then, yeah, I mean, like I said, it was definitely a dream come true to get through the year. There was some really cool times. Thailand was badass, going from the back to up to ninth, at one point in the race.
Crazy.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So no, there was definitely good things, but again, I mean, I came from winning, and I've got that blood in me, so I want a lot more than just being another guy.
Yeah.
So
you get a taste for it, don't you, at the end of the day? And when you don't have that feeling again, you kind of itch for it. It's kind of like an itch you got to scratch. I mean, to be fair though, like obviously you did pretty good considering you went from a national super sport championship to what I would say is the most competitive championship in the world. Like, it's probably, I would say, more competitive than MotoGP, because the time, like 1/10 is the difference between 20th and 12th, for example. It's and so to be fair, like you've done a pretty bloody good job so far. And I think now that you've got a year under your belt, the tracks, you understand the riders a little bit more, and how they race, obviously, because the way the American racers will ride compared to Moto2 riders will ride completely different, because of obviously going through Spain and things like that. So now you've got that under your belt. I think, I guess it's just now a year of putting that all that learning into action this year, and just kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. But like you say, I mean, there's so many factors, right? That at the end of the day, when you have that many factors, and the grid only comes down to sometimes a second, the entire thing, like it's very easy to just get that second, be that second away, which for us, a second seems like a lot from the outside. Sometimes it's really not, but I think it's just about getting it all in the right way, just getting the package down. And I mean, again, I feel like I ended the season in a better way. I was riding a lot more natural at the end of the year, and I was feeling just a little bit more confident on the bike, which I think is the most important thing for me. So let's see. I'm really excited. I mean, I'm happy because, like I said, there's also some changes within the team, and everyone seems motivated, and I'm really happy to be getting started here in just a couple of weeks again.
Yeah, should be really good. I mean, the team, like you said, there's been some changes. It's obviously branching out now into the junior GP thing, which is where you come in, Matt. Riding for the team MMR American Racing Team, isn't it? It's like a subdivision. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a joint collaboration between the two teams.
Okay, and how did that come about for you? Because obviously I don't know. I look at your career a little bit. It's a bit strange, because not strange, but you've gone from you did the Moto America, then you went to the CIV and did it on the Mahindra for a little bit. Went back to America in the Junior Cup. Then went back to Spain in the e-Superbike on the Super Sport. Then you ended up in the Aprilia 660 class, and now you're in the Junior GP Moto2. Like, it's like you've kind of tasted a lot of things, and now you've kind of ended up on the Moto2.
It's been a huge mix over the last few years, for sure. I mean, starting even before the Moto3 and CIV, I did the pre-Moto3 in CIV with Kuja Racing. So I think everything leading up to Moto3 was made a lot of sense, because I was just kind of climbing the ranks in the Italian National Championship ever since, mini motos from starting. But then after that is when it kind of got a little mixed up. The Moto America opportunity came after Moto3 with Mahindra, so we decided to give that a try. And then I remember at the end of that season, I don't remember how or where we got the word, but somehow we did hear about the Trofeo, the 660 happening over in CIV, and we had the opportunity to wildcard at the end of the season. So we said, okay, I think that would be a good thing to do to kind of top the year off, which we ended up doing really well at there. And from then it was, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but it was a clear choice to say, okay, this is something that we can pursue to try and to get the championship for the next year. And so we thought that would be the best idea. And so that was the main thing that I was racing. Obviously the few rounds in ESBK was 600. We kind of took that as more just trying to get more experience, almost training really. It was a championship that I'd never been in. I never did any Spanish national racing. And so that was just something that we kind of wanted to check off the box to get a little bit more experience, to feel out how our riders over there, what's the speed comparison to me like over there, what's the speed of comparison to the Italian riders. So that was super fun. Honestly, those weekends, I would say, would be some of the most fun that I've had racing just because of how intense those guys are. And then the Moto2, at the end of the year, that came through talks with the people with Aprilia and with BK Corse, one of the guys who kind of runs the Trofeo. He's the owner of the MMR team, Max Morlacchi. Nice. And so we're just kind of speaking with him and saying, hey, how can we, make this happen? And then talking. And obviously the dream came true to do that last race. And unfortunately, the weekend didn't go how I wanted it to at all. I got taken out in the second corner of the race, which was kind of a bummer.
I think you forgot to mention that you did win the Trofeo Cup.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole ordeal.
We'll go down that one in a minute. That's a weird
co-champion.
Yeah, it's weird what happened with that. But then, because I don't think I've ever seen two champions crowned in a series. Because you weren't the champion for a while, and you were kind of second for a little while, and then they decided actually no, and made you the co-champion with the other rider. I don't remember the name of. What happened there? Like, firstly, why were you not crowned the champion in the first place?
It was strange.
And then how did it then end up that you were crowned co-champion?
So I guess, just taking it from the beginning. So I think taking it from the beginning of the Imola weekend, I think honestly it comes down to just a mix-up in knowledge of the rules. So what I was told for that weekend was that if I won the first race, that I could either finish first or second in the second race, because that would put us at tied points. And the deal breaker for the championship would be the one pole position that I had over the other rider. And so that's kind of where our head was at going through that whole weekend. That's where my head was at going through race one. After race one's win, that's really where my head was at for the next day, because obviously if we can finish P2 and become champions, I'll go for the win anytime I'm on track. But at the end of the day, that race, I had to be a little bit cautious just not to crash, because that would be the only way that I would lose it. Or if I finished third or fourth or fifth. So, the race went on as normal. I had a really, really good battle with Mongiardo. He ended up winning the race. I came finishing second, and entering into Parc Fermé, I was the champion in Parc Fermé. That was what we were all celebrating for. That's what I was told. The cheers went on. Mongiardo came in, cheers for his win. And that's kind of where the dust settled until, I want to say 15 minutes after we came in, race direction came over and told us that, no, that the championship went to Mongiardo and not to me. And so that was super confusing. That was a really, really confusing moment. I wasn't too sure what to think. I wasn't too sure how to feel. And it ended up being that the rules that we thought were in place had been changed the year prior. And so that's all it came down to, really. It was the championship went to him because he was the winner of the last race. So even though we had the same points, same amount of wins, same amount of second places, same amount of DNFs, I had one more pole position. Because he won the final race, he was crowned the champion. And so,
Makes no
Yeah,
sense.
that's ridiculous. What the hell?
yeah, I mean, my honest opinion about that is like, I think it's super unfair to make one race more valuable than the others. I think if you have a situation like ours, and if everything is so close, just to put it all on the last race after all that hard work, after all that you and the team did for the whole season, just to have it be like, oh, well, you won the last race, so you win the whole thing. I think it's a little strange. I mean, I'm not the one who made the rules. I'm not the ones who put them in place, but I think that was a little strange for sure. And so I know FIM and CIV, was talked over, and I know they were still talking over a week after. And then I got the phone call from the guys, and they said that FIM and CIV decided to name us co-champions and kind of give the title to both of us, just since that's what they felt was the best thing to do, considering the circumstances of the season, of the results and whatnot. So I think at the end of the day, it would have been nice, obviously, to say, okay, we're champions and we're number one. But not everything goes out how you want it to. And looking back on it, I think co-championships to both of us, I think it's a fair thing. I think we did something that's like that I know for sure has never been done in CIV, likely has never been done in any other national championship. We had the same exact points and the same exact results for the entire season, tied. So I think for both of us to be champions and both of us to be kind of sharing that pedestal together, I think that's a really cool thing. And I'm sure, 10 years, once I'm in my adult years, that I'll be looking back on it and be thinking that was something super cool.
Yeah,
so.
It is. It's like, I don't know, like a place in history a little bit, isn't it? That you are a co-champion. I've got to ask though, like, if you were both to stay in the class, who the hell would get the number one plate?
I don't know. It's
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Luckily, they're not staying, so don't worry about that question.
People like just tear off like half. Someone can have the top half, someone can have the bottom half, the number one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, literally. And then like, well, I've got an extra pole
it can be
position.
like one and then 1.1.
Yeah, I'll just swap it each round. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
But now you're obviously hopping onto the Moto2.
Yeah.
Full time. What's it like? Obviously, Sean, you'll know a lot about this. Like, what's it like hopping from a production bike, over to the Moto2, especially for the first time when you do it, and then obviously having to actually race on it as well, because I know that they're extremely rigid compared to the road bikes, and a lot more difficult to ride. What's it like? And then what advice, Sean, would you give to obviously a guy like Max who's then heading into a full season on the Moto?
I mean, I would say I knew it was going to be drastically different, dramatically different than the road bikes would. And I still was surprised, and I still was shocked as to how different it was. I mean, you can't even begin to compare what the 660 or R6 feels like compared to the Moto2 bike. It is, for one, probably the most rigid motorcycle I've ever ridden. There's absolutely no flex in the chassis, absolutely no flex in the frame. It is just riding a rock. It's riding a rock. Not to mention another challenge of it being no electronics, so no wheelie control, no traction control. So you're feeling everything. Any input you put into the throttle.
Electronics though.
Oh, it's true. I play with them on the 600 a little bit.
Really?
I the first times that I rode them, I just played with it just to know what it would feel like, because I knew that was the first opportunity. But
that's cool.
I mean, I've also never ridden a bike with that much horsepower, so
yeah.
But no, it's a super, super fun bike. It's very, very fun. Obviously super difficult because it just wants to kill you every time you open the throttle. But if you manage to stay on it, it's super fun.
Yeah, Sean's just like, I've done a full season at that. It's fine,
Yeah. That's what's funny though. Like I still, I mean, again, at the end of the year, I think by that point I had already seen a lot of the habits that I had coming from the super sport. But the Suzuki, is its own breed, even compared to the R6.
Old
Like
as fuck.
the R6 is still, exactly. It's like riding a soap boat, man. Like that thing was so different. And then you compare again, like he said. I mean, he's ridden R6 more than me. I've only ridden R6 twice, and even that feels a little bit more racy than the Suzuki. Obviously, yeah, you can make the Suzuki go quick enough and do its thing, but just the habits that I got after 3 years of riding that thing was definitely playing against me on the Moto2 in the long run. Like at the beginning, it was not so bad with the Moto2, just because I feel like I was just kind of putting everything down, and the lap times were coming. But once pace was, starting to come, and then more days on the bike, it was also almost like an opposite effect, right? Like the more time I was on it, the more I was realizing like, oh, all these bad habits are kind of popping up. So, yeah, it was by the end of the year, it was trying to get all that away from me and get rid of the bad stuff. But at this point, like that's kind of what I'm happy with, because I know that I was able to improve quite a handful of things by the end of the season. And there's still a bunch of things that I already have in mind that I know I need to work towards at the start of testing in just a couple of weeks. Things that I've been talking about with my crew chief and just with my team guys in general, just to try and start a little bit more in the right direction, and just work towards a better season in general on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, and because the tracks a little bit more, that'll definitely help you. You know the lines. Kind of, I don't know, because all these tracks have like niggly little bits, and the bike will favor some bits, not favor other bits, and then a different bike will obviously react differently. And I think obviously having that knowledge is there. Do you think you can be a lot closer to the front this year? Obviously, I know a lot of the riders, they're kind of staying in the championship. You've only really had Augusto step up. You've had obviously a couple of guys come in like Borja Gomez and things like that, but relatively the grid is very similar. Do you think you can, make that step forward, try and maybe crack a top 10 and things like that? Is that the goal? And then with Rory in there as well, you're kind of like the number one in that squad now, because you've got obviously more experience than Rory in there. Do you feel any pressure because of that, or is it just very much just chilled out?
I know for sure. I mean, the class looks stacked. I mean, it's Moto2 at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter of like who stays and who goes at the end of the day. Moto2 is going to be Moto2, but I definitely feel like the objective is definitely to make a step and be more towards the front. I definitely feel that I'm a rider that can be consistently in the points and can be hitting top 10. So that's the goal for this year. But the other thing is, like I said, I mean, I know that feeling I had on the bike last year, and it wasn't exactly how I like to feel on motorcycles. So if I did sometimes decent things on it last year, it's because I know that if we get to the right point this year, then we'll definitely be in a better spot. In terms of the team, I mean, I'm super happy that that I'm with the crew again this year. It's going to be cool to have Rory on board. I raced with him in Rookies Cup, so that's fun. I definitely, I still talk shit about Cameron leaving, but that's okay. We had some good times last year, and it was cool to share the box with him. But it's exciting for me. I mean, like you said, I am now technically the rider with the more experience in the team. So at the end of the day, I mean, I know what I set out to myself for me to do out there this year, and I'm just going to focus on myself and what I need to do. Like I had mentioned before, I've got some a new mechanic, and I've got a new crew chief that I'm working with this year as well, that we've been already chatting up quite a bit. So I look forward to start with him. That's obviously going to be a little bit of a new adventure too, just to see how things goes on. It is part of the adaptation, let's say, of my second season too, to have someone new on my side. But yeah, I feel good about it. At the end of the day, we're just riding two wheels and an engine under us, so we just gotta make the most of it and enjoy probably the best job in the world. So I can't complain.
Definitely the best job in the world. Definitely not jealous of your job. Like I'm sat here behind my desk all day, and I'm like, oh yeah, look at these guys getting to travel the world, ride the bike. Yeah, but
oh, exactly. It's so easy to it's so easy to just kind of get lost. Yeah, take it for granted and just kind of get lost with all the yeah, I mean, there are tough times.
Yeah.
Things aren't easy. We work our asses off. There's always financial things, and there's always people and work and just time and so many factors. But at the end of the day, looking at the big picture, I mean, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. So
Yeah, that's it.
I'll try and put all that energy into making it happen this year, and hopefully win some shit.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Cambodia leaving. Is there like any sort of like
Ole.
hostility towards that, or is it just kind of
Yeah.
like is it just chill kind of thing? Like is it obviously because Cam's now left to go back to Moto America? Do you feel that has negatively impacted the team? Is it a negative decision from the team, or is it just kind of like a okay, we understand it, and then he goes kind of thing, or was there anything more in there?
Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't be able to say, was it a positive or negative. At the end of the day, it was a decision that Cameron decided to take. And at the end of the day, if you as a rider are ready to take that decision, then I think that's the better way to do it. You can't really force a rider to race somewhere that he doesn't, want to be at. So I definitely think that, for the general, if that was the decision, then no, so be it. Like I said, I mean, I definitely I was definitely not happy with him. I'm like, dude, you got to stay another
Yeah,
year.
come
Like,
on, man.
he did so good. He had some amazing rides in his
He got
second year. I feel
podium,
like
yeah.
I do. Yeah, yeah. I do feel that if he would have stayed a third year and with my second year, it would have been a good combo. I definitely learned a lot from him last year, and it was just really cool to be sharing the box. But again, I mean, changes are changes, and I think it'll be cool to have a guy like Rory, and then we'll just do what we have to do and try and get the best for the team.
Mm, that's good. And with you, Max, obviously, because you're in the junior GP this year, and obviously we say that the Moto2 World Championship grid is stacked. The grid in the European Moto2 Championship this year is unbelievably stacked.
Yeah, it's
It's
stacked.
unreal. Like I took a photo of the list. I'll look in because not many people know. Like because there's been a few move arounds. Obviously, Nicola Antonelli's in it for one, which should be really interesting after obviously a full year in the World Championship.
Teammate.
Sorry, sorry. Cut out.
I'm teammates.
Oh yeah, you
this
are,
year.
aren't you? Fucking hell, yeah, I forgot about that. So
Yeah.
I've got some big names here. So you got obviously Senna Aegis, who did really well in his replacement rides last year in the World Championship. You've got obviously Peter Bajsarski, who's been in there for a while. Xavier Cardelas, who's got loads of experience. Maria Herrera's in there. Eduardo Montero is there. Unai Radre. Pasquale is a good one as well. Matteo Rato. Gerard Riu stepping up. Yarai Ruiz is a strong one. David Sanchez. Alberto Sura. Carlos Tatai. Max Toth. Alex Toledo. Matthew Volpe, Harrison Vaught, obviously, as well, Sam Wilford, huge names. Like, a lot of those guys have experience in world championships as well. And it is for you, that must feel like a baptism of fire. If you caught all that and it didn't cut out. Did it cut out?
You're trying to get nervous right now.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
You just listed all the names. You're starting to
She's like,
shiver.
shit.
I haven't heard anybody say the list out loud yet.
Yeah, and then you're like, fuck. Yeah,
No,
how's that feel?
I mean, I think I have to start by saying that it feels super cool. I mean, I'm really happy that I get to be among a list of riders as talented as that list that you just said. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's scary or intimidating or anything because at the end of the day, I know that I work my hardest. I know I do everything that I can to succeed in the sport and what I love. And I know that at the end of the day, if I work my hardest and I put my 100% into it, I think that anything is possible for me. So if I go in there, if I do my best, if we stay progressing, if we stay steady, then I think that's all that I can really ask of myself. Also, at the end of the day, it's going to be my first full season on a Moto2 bike, so that Sean knows that's going to come with a hell of a lot more learning than a 660 or an R6. And so I think that's going to be important, is to not put too much stress on myself for results and numbers and all this, and just to try and get a better feeling every round, every race, every session on the Moto2 bike, steadily progressing from race 1 all the way to the last round. But it's going to be super, super cool. It's going to be really, really cool to share the track with those guys. I'm excited to share the box with Antonelli as well. I think that's going to be an interesting combo to have me, a rookie, with a guy who's done a full year of world championship. So hopefully I can gain some things from him. And no, I'm excited. I'm super, super excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good. Like, I'm really looking forward to it. Like, because I kind of sometimes watch CV races, but then often I'll just kind of have it on the background. But this year, I'm like, damn, I can't miss these now because they are gonna be crazy. Because sometimes you have like multiple races on the weekend and things like that as well. It's gonna be like absolutely unmissable at this point. But yeah, do you feel that?
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be absolute chaos. Do you think that? Obviously, because you're in now the American Racing Academy, are you basically going to now try and use this as a platform to then get to the World Championship Moto2? I'm assuming that is the goal.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that's I think the Junior GP Moto2 is going to be all those riders' platforms to try and get into World Championship. So if that opportunity would come, if that would be one of the cards on the table, I think, of course, we'll have to go for it. But I don't, I'm not really thinking that far into the future. I never really think 2 years ahead. For the last few years that I've been racing, I always like to focus on just this year and focus on what's happening and just what I can control. But I mean, yeah, if the opportunity comes, that would be the dream, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's do you feel like, I don't know, because of the way you've got into this championship, do you feel like, because it's quite an unconventional way, I'd say, to get in there, do you feel like you're quite privileged to be in there, or not that you haven't got there by your talent, because you have, obviously, but do you feel that, yeah, like it's a privilege to be there kind of thing?
Yeah, I think, I think 100% it's a mix of both. I think, obviously, I have to be super grateful for what American Racing Team, what American Racing Academy is doing for me to help get me into this position. I have to be grateful for, Max Morlacki for helping me get into this position and MMR. And so, yeah, it's a great privilege. At the end of the day, I know that I've worked really hard, and I know that me and my family and everybody supporting me, everyone behind me, has given their alls to get me to this position. So it's for sure a mix of both.
Yeah, that's good. Good. Yeah, it's interesting. Because like we've said, like a lot of riders, neither of you have taken the normal route, as you'd say. The normal route is like, I don't know, Red Bull rookies and maybe Chev Moto3 or Moto3 World Championship and then into Moto2. But you've kind of gone the weird way around, but still managed to make it. And yeah, you're seeing
around.
Yeah, we're seeing like more and more riders kind of doing that these days, because you like Manuel Gonzalez and things like that, who's came a really strange way. And yeah, do you feel that it's because the way you've done that? Do you think that it can maybe inspire more American riders, especially, to come from Moto America into the World Championships? Do you think that can then, especially with the academy that you're part of as well, do you think that that's going to start to kind of, because there's not many Americans. Obviously, you got you guys, you got Joe Roberts. That's really it from the top of my head in the World Championship scene or in the European scene. There are a few more Americans, obviously. But do you think that that's going to start to try and push more Americans into these kind of championships into Europe? Or do you think a lot of Americans are actually more than happy to just stay in Moto America for a while because it's growing in popularity at the moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think definitely there's a handful of people who would like to stay in Moto America and who feel that that's their path to it. But I mean, personally, I would love to see more Americans kind of breaking new territory and jumping into new waters over in Europe. I think that we don't have enough Americans in, I don't even want to say world championships. Just national championships. I think that it would be cool to see more. I know Kensei just announced his Moto4 campaign for this year, which I think is going to be super, super cool in the ESD. And I know we have, I think there's a few more who are going to be, mixed around. We have obviously Christian Daniel Jr. in ETC.
Yeah. We got Enriquez and Rookie's Cup.
Oh, that's true. Enriquez and Rookie's Cup. Yeah. So I mean, I think this year it's growing, the American scene, especially with the with the younger audience in Europe. And I think personally that's going to be super crucial and vital to keep our end of road racing, alive, and to keep our campaign of pushing to MotoGP and the World Championship alive. So no, I mean, for sure it'll be really cool to see more and more Americans going over to Europe.
Yeah, because like I said, like Moto America is growing quite a lot. And I think for a lot of riders, it just seems maybe more attractive to stay in Moto America. Obviously, Cambodia has gone back to Moto America, but obviously, given the fact that he's kind of married and he's spent a lot of time away from his wife and his family and things like that, I do fully appreciate it for you guys. It's a lot more difficult than, say, a Spaniard going and racing in Italy or something like that, because it's not just a case of like traveling up and down the road. You are on the other side of the world kind of thing, but do you think that because of that, Moto America is more of an attractive choice to riders? Or do you feel that a lot of riders could make the move, but simply just don't want to?
I think...
honestly, I don't think there's many that can make the move right now.
It's talent-wise or what?
There's...
It's a mix.
Yeah, like I would say that there's definitely a high level in Superbike, but Cameron was one of the only ones that, definitely had the package to be able to come overseas and try in Moto2. And look, even he did 2 years and was like, yeah, no, I'm going back. But also, I mean, Cameron's 30 years old right now. He's not 20, he's not 21, 22, or I think he's in a different phase in his career. And I feel like most of those other guys, that even though the talent level of Superbike I feel like is there, it's still all that same bracket, and maybe, like last year, one of the youngest and talented guys in Supersport was Rocco. And, he gave Europe a shot in Rookies Cup, and he was like, yeah, no, he just wants to stay back over there from what it seems like. I mean, so I think it's if you look at all of that, at the end of the day, you look at all the fastest guys and over there right now, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, that's not really gonna be able to come straight over here and do something about it, So
I mean, even you saw Gagne do the World Superbike wild card, and I mean, I think that weekend just showed that you can't jump straight from Moto America to the World Championship and then just be boom, you're bringing in results. I think it's a learning curve, and they're just drastically different championships. I think Moto America is in its own bracket compared to let's say CIV or ESBK. I think that comparing the CIV Superbike, ESBK Superbike, I think those two are super similar. Not even just in terms of talent, but in terms of teams, in terms of tracks, in terms of all those different variables. I think Moto America has a lot of things that they do different. A lot of variables that are different just purely because it's different, complete different continents. I think the tracks being the biggest one of them. I know Moto America only races on one Grand Prix track. Whereas you look at CIV, you look at ESBK, they're racing on nothing but Grand Prix tracks. So you have to take that into account as well. I think it's one thing to go from Grand Prix tracks to one that maybe isn't up at that standard or up at that level. And it's another thing to go from one track that's maybe a little rough around the edges, not at that level, and you go to a Grand Prix circuit. So it's just difficult. It's super difficult.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know.
You would know. Yeah, because the other way it seems all right. Like obviously you saw Loris Baz, Daniel Petrucci, obviously Javi Flores now going over there, and to go from these tracks to Moto America tracks, yeah, they're a bit harder to ride. They're tighter. They're not as good, I would say, as obviously like a Grand Prix level track, because obviously there's different kind of standards and things like that. But then the other way is obviously a lot more difficult. And you look back to like the 90s and the 80s, and the Americans could just come over and just smash it up. Kenny Roberts, for example, just came over and was a rookie 500cc champion. But it doesn't happen like that no more. And I think not having Laguna Seca on the World Superbike calendar definitely harms that. I think because you see guys like Josh Herrin, for example, doing wildcards at that race, and if Gagne was to hop on a superbike at the World Superbike round at Laguna, I fully think top 5 would be well in there. But then to go from those kind of tracks to European tracks, where these guys have been racing for like 10 years, and there's different standards, they're just completely different tracks. So much harder for you guys to kind of learn these things. And I think both of you benefit from the fact, obviously, Sean, you did Red Bull Rookies Cup for 3 years. Obviously, Max, you did. Obviously, you've come from like pre-Moto3, and you know most of these tracks anyway. Whereas a guy, say, like Rocco Landers, to come over and do these tracks, it's a big ask. And it's, for guys,
Very big ask.
it's like, if anything, it's maybe too much, especially with the money side of things as well, with teams wanting like stupid amounts of money. It's basically like, there's like a tiny little funnel and only a few are dropping through, and it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's why I think it's important for, unfortunately, right now Americans need to be young and they need to come over, the same way that Christian Daniel did, the same way that Kensei is doing. Enriquez now gone into Rookies Cup. Hopefully, it's going to be good for him, but you need to start young, because if not, it's so difficult to just grow up and wait until you're, past the super sport phase to then come over here. I think right now, like the US racing, and that's not just talking, I'm not bashing on talent or anything. It's just the system in the US right now. There's not enough, right? There's not enough riders, not enough amount of speed and tracks. And at the end of the day, like, it even comes down to dumb things like, insurance, right? Like, you can't ride at a track if you're not a certain age because of insurance, right? And like, that's not even a question here.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have problems with it here. Over there, yeah, you everyone's got a problem with that.
I didn't know that's not a problem here.
Dude, there's ETC kids that
That's
are like
not
12 years old
yeah.
riding at Aragon and Valencia.
I guess I'm thinking like track days or whatnot. I guess that's an interesting point.
They're
I've never
all
thought about that. That's a
like
good point.
over there, you can't get on a big track until you're sometimes like 15. Here they're on big tracks when they're 11.
That's one thing. Yeah,
And
that's ESBK Moto4, 11, I think 10 even.
Yeah, that's kind of like Kensei's age, I think.
Yeah.
He was on a Moto5 or something like that. Over there, those bikes don't even exist, right? So I think it's more about the system and everything. So I hope something that, like what the team is doing in the academy, slowly, I think they're trying to grow that more and more to try and get younger ones to get more of that European taste, and hopefully you can just, grow into the fast stuff over here and
we need it.
Yeah, because there are a few Americans that I look at and I'm like you would do good over here, but they're just not making the jump. I think the biggest one I can think of is Kalayakov. I don't know if I've just butchered her name, but like, she's killing it. And like, she came and did the R3 Cup at Portimao and got on the podium, and like, I'm like, you've got talent there. If you can hop on a track that you've barely ever seen, against kids who've been racing them for years and get on the podium, that's outstanding. But then instead of then finding that spot, maybe the Super Sport 300s or something like that, because she's still too young, she's still 15. She's now hopping on an R7 in the Twins Cup, and you're like, for me, I look as an outsider looking in, I'm like, that's a weird move. Like, why are you making that move? Maybe to another person who's more educated, they'd be like, no, that's a good move, kind of thing. But I'm like, and then there's issues with money and things like that. Like, I don't know if you know, but Rocco Landers still hasn't got a seat for this year, despite coming as a runner-up last year and nearly winning the championship. He ain't got a seat because he ain't got the money to fund his ride. And you're like, what the hell? This kid's won 4 Moto America titles or something like that. And yeah,
but I know things there. I'm not gonna say anything, but I know some things there, so I'm not gonna. I think honestly, all I'm gonna say is, same with what you just mentioned, but also with like the Kayla. I think it all comes down to also personal decisions, right? Like, definitely. Again, I'm not talking because I don't know. Like, I don't know Kayla's situation exactly. Like, maybe she had some seats over here, but she had to pay too much money, and maybe in the R7 given it to her. So that could very well be the case. But also maybe, like I'm saying this because I've also I actually saw Kayla not too long ago when I was training on a 1000 back at home. And she's, she is very fast, very talented. But we didn't actually talk about the topic, but maybe in her case, it's maybe she would like to be like the next big like girl in Moto America. Maybe she just wants to be like the national, I don't know. I don't even know if there's ever been a girl in Moto America to win a superbike race. So maybe that's what really calls her, and that's what she goes for. So
yeah, exactly.
at the end of the day, like, yeah, for sure the talent's there. There's no doubt, right? And but I mean, we'll see. Everyone to each their own. So I'm supportive of everything, and hopefully we can just get all the international stuff to also help us Americans also keep growing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously the academy that you're in is really good. I'm intrigued as to what a Scotsman's doing in an American racing academy, but that's I did wonder that when they had like Marcos Ramirez, I was like, he's Spanish. What's he doing in the American academy? But business is business.
Yeah, don't ask us about that because we don't know. We just ride. We just ride.
Yeah, that's it. You just ride bikes. It's not.
That's luckily not our job.
Yeah, thank God. But like, yeah, I think
you should make a podcast with Hopper.
Yeah, that'd be ace.
You should make one with Hopper. How great would that be?
That would be great.
Yeah, I
Dude,
wouldn't know how to get in contact with him. Maybe I'll DM him on Instagram or something.
I'll get that direct link, easy peasy.
Yeah.
He would be a big fan. Everybody would love you. You'd love to hear some stories.
Oh yeah, I read his book and it's fucking crazy. Have you read his book?
No, I don't want to yet.
Wait, yeah, don't read it yet then.
Honestly, I think I've read his book and more because I've already been a whole year with him. So I've heard.
We spent 2 weeks with him.
I spent a year with him.
You spent a year, yeah. I got 2 weeks with him. I at least got the first 4 chapters. So.
Yeah, some stuff in that book. I was like, okay, fair enough. That's yeah,
next level.
He's a crazy bastard, he is, but he's great. I like him a lot. But yeah, like I think more, it's a shame actually when you look at like pivotal American riders and getting talent over here. I look back and I'm like, a guy like Nicky Hayden would have been absolutely spectacular for doing stuff like that. But and there are things like you need more things like the American Racing Academy to get more riders over here. And like I said, like a guy like Nicky Hayden would have been so good for it. But yeah, it's just about trying to cultivate that talent as well and trying maybe influence riders to go, right, here's 2 years, go over there and do what you can. But as well, spending so much time away from your family. Like obviously for you, Sean, like you spent a whole year away from your family last year, probably for maybe, did you say it was for the first time in your life, or was it, obviously you did the rookies a few years ago, but it wasn't maybe as many races, especially this year when you're like, I think you're spending
Rookies Cup, I had my parents here with me because I was underage, so I couldn't do anything by myself. Damn. They could have left me with family or just stranded over there, but they weren't doing that. Yeah. Luckily, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. Last year, first, like now that I'm getting old, so I'm definitely able to live by myself. And I mean, first time over here, like I had said, by myself, and it was a different. It's definitely a different situation. When especially someone like me that I'm raised with Argentinian blood, and that means that Latino family is very close, and just we do the way we're grown up is very, very together with everything. Mm-hmm. And apart from that, I mean, obviously a little bit of the story of how much my parents and my family has done for me. So it was definitely a bit tough to. I mean, if it was tough for me to be at a distance, that much of a distance all year long last year, I can't imagine what it was for them. So. But I mean, it is what it is. I know that soon it'll all be worth it. So I mean, it already is. Just being here is incredible. So we'll just try and make it more and more worth it as the time goes by.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it like ever takes a toll on you being that far away from family? Because obviously, like you said, you're quite close knit with your family and things like that, and you're having like a shit day after a race and things like that. Is it like, do you feel that takes a toll on you mentally or anything like that, or are you able to kind of split those things apart?
Yeah, no, I think the goal is definitely to separate those things. At the end of the day, I am here for work, but I think it's the time at home, that, at first it's no problem, but, when 6 months go by and you're, after so many weekends. And again, last year was definitely a challenging year for me. You know, I had a lot of things that I had to go through, and so to add that, I feel like was definitely a factor. But you know, this year I'm gonna go back to home after Texas in April for a week. Then I'll head back for a couple weeks in July for the summer break. And then I mean I won't be then back until December, but still I feel like, you know, just a couple weeks here and there just to kind of keep things as fresh as possible, you know. But
resets.
yeah, just a little reset. At the end of the day, you know, we are human, so I think it's important. But apart from that, though, I mean, I try and be as strong as I can to just, you know, do the best, because I do know that, you know, the better I do on track, then the easier it'll be for everything at home too. So we'll try and make that happen, and I'll just stay focused on what I got to do right now.
Yeah, sounds good. And then same to you, Max, because obviously you spend a lot of your time over here again. Over maybe not as much, but this year you will definitely. Although there's for some reason the CV again has like a fucking massive break in the calendar. I don't like a 3-month break, so like you can just go back. But like, what's it like for you? Just do you not give a shit, or is it like a similar thing with you? Or
no, I mean it's so yeah, I'm in a little bit of a different place than Sean, because this will be, you know, this move to Spain and this year will be the first time that I'm spending some real time away from my family. I think likewise, I'm super close knit with my family. You know, my mom, my dad, I absolutely love them both to death. They do everything that they can for me, for, you know, me to succeed in the sport, is to succeed in what I love, but also just give me the best life that they can. And you know, I'm around them a lot, and they've been with me for all of the racing up until now. So yeah, I'll have to see, you know, how much of a toll that will take. I've been in Spain now for, I want to say it's been 2 weeks. 2 weeks getting settled in here. This is going to be my home base. Week and a half. Sorry. This will be my home base, kind of, you know, my new home for indefinitely. So yeah, hopefully, you know, my dad and mom, they can make it to as many races as they can, because I would absolutely love to have them there. I think same goes for me, that will go for Sean, is that the Coda Run is a before or after? That when you'll be
Coda Run is it before or after?
No, sorry. While you'll be going back to Florida, I'll be going back to California, I think, for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's it should be after.
After, sorry. So yeah, that'll be nice. That'll be nice to spend some time with the family there. But yeah, hopefully I can see them as much as possible this year. It'll be a little bit of a challenge living away from them for the first time. But it should be okay.
Max, is this your first time living by yourself?
Yeah.
I can tell.
I mean, you're kind of the.
You can tell.
You're
I can tell. Trust me.
You babysit him.
He's over. He's over.
Yeah.
I'm totally over exaggerating.
Well, is he like not doing the dishes? You know, not cleaning up? Is it that bad, or is it?
I did the dishes this morning. I'm the first one to do the dishes.
What do you mean? You haven't cooked anything. So what dishes are you going to do?
I haven't been in the situation where I needed to. You've cooked what?
You just said, hey, you just heard him say he's been here for a week and a half and he's not
cooked.
Yeah, but listen.
What the fuck are you eating?
One week. Just been eating out, or like eating things that don't need to be cooked. Just to clarify, Sean has not been cooking for me. This dude hasn't put a...
Why should I cook for you?
Well, because that's what it makes you said, oh, I'm not cooking, so you're doing the cooking for the little babe.
No, I'm not. I never said I cooked for you. I'm just saying you haven't cooked for yourself.
We're doing great. We're doing so great.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not like a married couple already. It's been what? A week and a half?
But what's funny is
good combo.
Every time I'm in the kitchen, he just slowly comes into the kitchen. He's like, "What are you eating?" And then he just starts taking something. I'm like, "Dude, go to the store, buy yourself some food." You should go to the store today.
Yeah, we'll go to the store.
No, not you are going to the store.
I will go to the store.
By yourself. Yeah. You have to like tell him off every 2 minutes. Like, you do this. Write him like a little list of things he has to do every day.
It's fun living together. I mean, we've known each other since we were... before I can remember, honestly.
7 years old, I think.
Yeah. I can't remember before that. So.
Yeah, we're practically family. So
Practically family.
unfortunately,
Yeah. That sounds like it. Yeah. It's
but it's
It's just painting me in the worst light in this podcast. I'm sorry.
that's all right. It's all right.
no, it's good
Do that
though.
to yourself. It's fine. But
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah.
So-
I think that probably all we've got time for. It's been an hour now, so unless there's anything you want to ask me or anything like that.
Went by that fast, huh?
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
I was gonna say, I was like, we should turn this around.
know,
Like, we
dude.
should talk to, like, you should talk a little bit.
God.
Like,
How are you feeling about this?
How am I feeling about the season?
Yeah.
Shit, to be honest. I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest.
Why?
You got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, like the fucking sprint races for one. Like, that's just like
Yeah.
long.
Dude, that's
Like, because obviously for you guys, it's all right because you're there, it's your job, but then I've got like a life outside of racing that I kind of want to live as well. And then you're like, oh, no, wait, I've got to sit
No.
down for another fucking hour on a Saturday afternoon to do a sprint race or sit around for another hour on like a Saturday morning at 3 a.m. because it's in Indonesia to, do stuff about another sprint race, and like I was kind of a bit over MotoGP by the end of last year. And now like I'm like, oh my God, it's 20 weeks away. I'm like 2 weeks away or 3 weeks away. I'm like, I'm so over it now. Yeah, it will. Like, isn't it?
Yeah.
it's gonna
It's gonna be hectic. Like I spoke to when we had Zonta on, we worked out that you're gonna be away. Or he said he's gonna be away. I don't know obviously what you're gonna do, but he's gonna be away for like 60 days between some of the flyaways. Like he's gonna be away for 2 months in like Asia, in Asian countries and stuff. Like
Yeah. At the end of the year, I think most of us will be gone for about 2 months at the end of the year this year.
Yeah, it's like
October, November is going to be insane.
yeah, it's gonna be a write off really for like guys. Which to me, I'm like,
Yeah.
And obviously all the guys that work, like guys and girls that obviously work in the paddock and stuff like that, like you've also got families and stuff. Like they got families, they've got kids, some of them because they're a bit older, they got all this stuff and like you're just spending so much time away and it's like, and then you got the journalists. It is becoming, I think MotoGP is becoming a bit too much, to be honest. Like I think like 18 races for the season is like more than enough. But obviously they're trying to follow the F1 trend and things like that, which I get. But then it just adds so much fucking stress to everyone else, doesn't it?
I think it's too much. I can't imagine the stress physically and mentally to race a MotoGP bike just once in the weekend, let alone now you have to do it twice. Okay, it's half light, but that's still another thing that you have to add on. I think that's going to be super difficult.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to. I think, honestly, I think they're gonna have to do a check like mid-season and be like, "Hey guys, is this working or no?" Because there's no way it's a sure thing that's going to go well for the year.
Could
Yeah.
go terribly, and like people could just not watch them, or like what happens if you're on your number one bike and you absolutely snap it in half on the Saturday, the sprint race, and then you got to race the next day on your number two bike that's not a setup, that hasn't got that swing arm that you need on it, things like that. Just because you're in a sprint race, you've already qualified for the race the next day, you've already done your free practices and things like that. You're now going out and doing a sprint race that won't help you with your qualifying position. Yes, you'll score some points for the championship and things like that, but you're not getting a bonus for it. A lot of the contracts with riders were settled before the sprint races were even announced. So you're not getting an extra pay for doing it. You're not getting an extra bonus for wherever you finish in a sprint race.
Teams are just going to spend more money. That's exactly what it comes down to. Like just more chances for bikes to break and more problems. But I mean, I talked to some of the GP guys and like I got like Vinales who's just like hyped on everything. Like he's excited for it. But then somebody else, like I didn't talk, but I've heard stuff of like I forget who it was. I think Miguel wasn't very happy with it or something like that.
Alicia's
But there's just so many different things out here right now. So I mean, we'll see, but
could be fun to watch for like the first.
It'll be cool
4 rounds.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, it does take a toll on you. Like for me last year. I mean, I remember before I started the season, I was looking at the calendar and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be like just absolute like just craziness, like so cool, awesome. Like let's go. And then like after my 57th flight, I was like, oh my God, I'm tired of this
sick
airplane. You know?
Like, no wonder Cam went
Yeah,
back to
this is
America. Like,
like again, I mean, I'm not, I wouldn't change it for anything, but it definitely does take a toll on you. Like it is a lot of traveling. And then looking at this season, like the way it's just kind of spread out, and they added India, they added Kazakhstan, which I don't even know if we're going to go to, but
no.
it's still like it, and they moved Qatar to the end of the season. So yeah, it's gonna be really, really, really interesting. So
That's the SDK branded private jet coming soon. Easy with those travels.
Yeah, no, not this year, man. We're just we're taking it easy.
Taking it easy on the expenses next year, though. Yeah, coming.
Yeah,
Next year, for sure.
I didn't want to pay taxes for that.
Who does? Like, but yeah, I'm just like kind of over racing. At this moment, like, I'm just over it.
Do you just want to like end the call then?
Nah.
Why are we?
No, like in general, like I think last weekend was World Superbikes and I didn't watch it, and that's the first time in like 6 years I didn't watch a race.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even like. I put up the race results on like every motor racing, but I didn't put any of the free practice stuff. Didn't put any of the qualifying shit up.
Wow.
So I'm just like,
and that was after the whole winter.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm just like,
you're gonna be done come July.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck this.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll talk in July and see how you're feeling about it.
For sure. I think for me personally, though, because I've done everything motor racing for like 8 years now, and like, especially in the last 3 years, I've just given up a lot for it, if that makes sense. I've given up like a lot of my like personal life and all that for it. And this year, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fucking actually live my life for once and stop like putting racing before my life, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why.
Definitely.
But dude, honestly though, you have to like that page is so crucial though.
Is it?
It's like I don't think like I've followed World Superbike the whole year last year. I think I maybe watched one race.
Yeah.
I know all the results from every session. Like anytime that you post on the Superbike race weekends, it's like a godsend for me because I'm just following it, but through you. I don't have to watch it. I don't have to do the hassle of watching the full session. I can just see your uploads on the results.
Yeah, that's true.
What I'm saying is, don't quit.
Nah, I ain't quitting.
Don't I say nicely, don't quit.
Don't quit. Yeah, I won't quit, but I'm like less asked about it. You know, like before it was like my life depended on it, and now I'm like, nah. Like I can give or take it. You know,
it doesn't.
I'm trying to use it to like. I use it as a vehicle now to try and like set me up work-wise, if that makes sense. Like as like social media management for like riders and stuff, and like graphic design and all that malarkey. I'm trying to use it as like a wheel to sort myself out as a job, if that makes sense, more than it is to just post stuff about racing these days.
The growth on that page has been pretty wild, though.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, like congrats. The growth has been pretty cool.
I mean,
it's huge.
I'm sure he hopes so. He just said he took out like his whole personal life just for it. So I'm sure he would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nearly on 100K on Instagram. Nearly. It's been sat at nearly 100K for a little while though. So I'm trying to like get a reel to blow up so that it can like help me with my followers. But yeah, it's just long, isn't it?
Just post my crash.
Yeah.
My Supermoto
I was
crash.
actually going to post that, to be fair. I was genuinely going to post that at some point. So I might post that, yeah. Because, yeah.
Dude, that's followers lately, for sure.
Like, yeah, that was...
I mean, like, slowly. Like, I'm not crazy about it.
Who doesn't want to see Sean go face first into a
yeah. Well, you were right after that. It looked fucking gnarly. Like,
I mean, it was gnarly, but I couldn't believe nothing happened to me. Like, I think my shock after hitting the wall on the ground on the other side was more of like the shock of I'm actually okay.
Yeah, like,
I just remember I was looking at my hands and I'm like, oh wow, I'm not broken right now.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was totally expecting some ribs or something, but no, I was good. I was fine.
Yeah, so is that an advertisement to wear Machina riding gear, Alpine Stars boots, and Bell helmets for each other?
Yeah. I was too good posts for them, so they can't complain.
Yeah, they can't. That's good. Yeah, and
Sean did it on purpose, just for that reason.
Just for that reason. Yeah, just for the social media thing.
I got 0 bonus from that. So no, I didn't do it on purpose.
That's what he tells everyone anyway.
Well, you see, now I can use that video for like whatever other brand wants to sponsor me next year. Be like, look, guys,
Yeah.
I can crash and get you like nearly 1 million views. You know.
We could do, what was it, the drift you did years ago that popped off as well, where you were going down the slide and you did a drift and then stopped it on a
The
dime.
Super Moto side.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, that was like my first or main video that really blew up everywhere. Like that just went around everywhere. There's people like in Latin America, like in Ecuador, like just Ecuador, like Ecuador.
Yeah, like,
What's in Ecuador? They're just like, I have a bunch of friends over there, but there was like a friend of some friend of a friend in Ecuador was like, hey, I went to a bike shop and your video was there. I was like,
that's cool.
My stepdad's from in Ecuador.
I'm not dissing Ecuador. I'm saying I have friends from Ecuador. It was cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, good stuff.
That video still gets thrown around Instagram.
Yeah, Moto America
Yes.
reposts it every so often. Like,
Yeah, they love it. They love their views.
oh yeah, they're always posting shit. Like Carl Wyman's bike getting set on fire. Yep, repost that one.
Yeah,
Like every week.
absolutely.
But yeah.
So anyways, back to it. You should definitely post that. Maybe it'll get you some
Yeah,
views.
well, I was actually, like I said, I was genuinely thinking about posting it, to be fair. So I saw, what was it, Motorsport Spain posted it. So Danny posted it. So I'm like, okay. If he posts it, it gets views. So.
I didn't see if he got many views from that at all.
Well, that's because he didn't put Sean Dillon Kelly is a fucking legend in the caption. That's why. If he'd done that, yeah.
That was the one.
Yeah.
That was the one. I remember when I posted that video we were just talking about.
Yeah.
He texted me. He was like, "Hey, can I post this?" And I was like, "Dude, of course." But I fucked around with it. I was like, "Only if you say in the caption, Sean Dillon Kelly's a fucking legend." And he actually ended up captioning that.
I'm a man of my word. What can I say?
Don't discount the viral one that I had recently too. My 400 slide is at like 940K.
Is it? I didn't
views.
see it.
Yeah.
I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, that's one upload, dude.
I'll have a look. I'll have a look. If I haven't seen it, I'll put it on my story for you. Maybe it'll push you near to 1 million, you know?
Oh yeah, he's almost there. There you go.
Yeah. See, but yeah, I think that's all we got time for now. You need to go to the store, Max, to buy some fucking food. So,
Yeah, and I have to get ready for tomorrow.
oh fucking hell.
I have to my bike wheels and clean her up and stuff. So I got work to do.
Gnarly. I've got work to do. That's fun as well. So, ugh. But yeah, thanks.
Also, I like how this me joining this just happened because we sent a selfie yesterday.
Yeah, and I was like, fuck it, let's get him on as well.
That was exciting. I was like,
I didn't even think about that. Just a picture.
Yeah.
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
He doesn't even think everything I do for him, and look, he doesn't even say
Doesn't
anything.
even say
Wow.
shit. Good job. I'm about. I was like, I saw the selfie. I was like, oh my fucking god, yes.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah, because our first episode with you, Sean, did really well. Like, so I'm like, it was like, because
The what?
First episode with you.
Oh, really?
yeah, like, well, you were our first guest as well, weren't you?
Dude, I just love thinking about that.
That was such a good episode.
That's so awesome.
I remember it. That was such a good episode. I listened to the whole thing. I might have watched it or listened to it more than once.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Awesome.
it was really good.
That's so good.
You have a super good story.
The Ralph Fernandez story, I keep thinking about. I still think about that story quite a lot. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking sick.
That's a good one.
Did you have that same thing when you were first time on a Moto2 bike, by any chance?
No. If I get that on a Moto2 bike, then I'm
You're out.
I'm
You're
leaving.
gone.
stopping. I'm not
Yeah,
racing
fuck
anymore.
this shit.
No, I haven't gotten that. Look,
Yeah.
I don't plan on it either.
No.
My story with Fernandez, I'll say later.
Yeah, good shit. But yeah, I think that's all we got time for. I think.
Good stuff.
Good
Good
stuff.
stuff.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you too.
That was fun.
That was good shit. Yeah, hopefully everyone at home has enjoyed this podcast.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
and hopefully this won't be the last one because me and Sean living together, we're gonna have some stories and some goodies
Yeah,
to conversate.
yeah, you got to keep.
Hopefully, like
It's got to be PG though.
We have to make a daily vlog and everything.
You should start a YouTube channel. Fuck it. Everybody's doing it. Vinales has got one. Marquez has got one now. Alicia's got one. Rins has got one.
Well, I've got something else coming, but it's top secret.
Oh, okay. I'll trust you on that one.
It'll be official soon.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
You're gonna love it. Actually,
Really?
You're gonna. Oh, dude, you have no idea what's coming, man.
fuck.
You're gonna see.
I can't wait.
I actually think end of the week it's gonna
End
come
of this
public.
week. Okay.
So you'll
Keep my eye out.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. And everyone who's listening is gonna love it.
Hopefully. Yeah. What is it like?
All
Can you
right.
give a hint or?
Oh, I
can't.
can't. It'll be illegal.
Ah, okay.
It'll terminate my contract.
Damn. Okay.
You're gonna like. Yeah, you'll see.
Sick. Well, yeah. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you are still listening, thank you to Sean and Max for coming on the podcast. I don't know what I'm going to title it. I don't know whose name to put first in the title.
Fine.
You can.
Youngest.
I said it first.
Maybe like Sean Delicate 2 and Max Toth.
There you
And
go.
some
Perfect.
guy. There you go. Even though it was Max's fucking
No,
podcast anyway.
You gotta put my initials so it's like shorter, so that Max Toth is still like pops up.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Or I
Handshake
could
deal
do
for
I
that.
could do Max Toth and a secret guest. Or a surprise guest.
No, SDK's got to be. I think SDK and Max Toth. I think that's
Okay.
the winner.
Okay, we'll do that. SDK. But in which order? Max Toth and SDK or SDK and Max Toth?
No, he just said it. He said
Okay.
SDK and Max Toth.
I remember saying Max Toth and SDK.
No, you said SDK and Max Toth. It's recorded.
Yeah.
Listen back to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, we'll leave you to that fun.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for your time and thank you to everyone for listening as well. We'll be back at some point. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Out.